Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a discontinued G.U.M fragrance review. And so this fragrance is not old enough to be a Vintage Hall of Fame fragrance review. Probably wouldn't be good enough to be in the Vintage Hall of Fame anyways. But it came out 11 years ago in 2013. And it is from Maison Francis Kurkdjian, one of only 3 MFK fragrances I have in my collection. This is Ciel de Gum. Now, if you guys are not familiar, there is a store, a department store in Moscow that is called G.U.M. I believe it's G.U.M, pronounced Gum, not gum. Some of my Russian patrons made sure to correct me on that. It is not Ciel de Gum, it is Ciel de Gum. But basically, this fragrance was released in 2013 by Francis Kurkdjian as an exclusive for the G.U.M department store in Moscow, and it's celebrating 120 years, okay? But then I think what ended up happening is, as the years went on, he ended up selling this in his MFK boutiques in Paris, and but it was supposed to be an exclusive limited release, and then of course, like all of Francis Kurkdjian's best work, it is now discontinued. So we're gonna do a review on this, but first, we have 4 packages. When I went to go check my P.O. box today, 4 packages to unbox. I have no clue what are in any of these. If you're just here for the Ciel de Gum review, I guess you can pass all of this stuff, but most people are interested in the unboxings and they like to see what I've been going for. So let's see, well, not what I've been going for, but I guess what we'll be talking about on the channel in the future. So the first one, and I don't remember who wanted to be shout out names and who didn't, but I think this gentleman is okay. Noah, thank you Noah, my friend, I got your package right here. So let's see what Noah has sent me. I know he said he wanted to send me some samples of some stuff that I have not talked about on the channel. So, let's see. And in fact, we do have samples. So, starting off on the right foot, let's see what's in here. We've got Parfums de Marly Nisean, Parfums de Marly Hamdani, Parfums de Marly Kalan, and Initio. Or, sorry, I think that's Initio. Into the Wild. I think that's called. Into the Wild. I gotta look these up. Because I don't know what the heck any of these are. Mostly because I am not a Parfums de Marly fan, in case you guys did not know. Into the Wild. Shit, which Into the Wild? There's a bunch of Into the Wilds, my friend. Is it Maison Matin Into the Wild? Is it Into the Wild? Static Olfactif Into the Wild? I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe this is the Darren Allen Into the Wild. I gotta ask him. But Parfums de Marly Kalan is the red one. I know that much. That came out in 2019. Spicy, woody, blood orange. I have a feeling I know what that's going to smell like, and I've never even smelled it, if that gives you any idea. The first comment on Parfumo, pepper under the butt. Okay, good start. And then we've got Hamdan, H-A-M-D, or Hamdani, excuse me. I don't know my Parfums de Marly names. Hamdani, 2013. Okay, this one I'm actually excited about. It's discontinued. I think this is the one that people have told me you have to smell Hamdani. It's one of the earlier, better Parfums de Marlys. So myrrh, frankincense, clove, honey, gaiac wood, leather, styrax, tobacco, benzoin, papyrus, and sandalwood. Fabrice Pellegrin is the perfumer. You know what? I'm actually excited to try Hamdani. So awesome. That was actually on my wish list, believe it or not. So it can be moved to the decant list. And then we have Nisean from 2016, also discontinued. Lime, pink pepper, grapefruit, saffron, frankincense, akigala wood, gaiac wood, amyris, sandalwood, geranium rose, cistus, patchouli, cedarwood, and amber. Nathalie Graciacetto is the perfumer. Okay, very awesome. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. That is very, very kind of you, Noah. Okay, so let's see what else we got. Again, I have no clue what these are. So, I mean, this could be anything. I mean, I hope these are all perfume related. I assume they are. But let us find out. So next on the list, we have Shit, this just says shipping department. I don't know who sent this to me. But it does say Ramsey the Ram as the name. So, so very cool. So whoever you are, Halston Z. Wow, look at that. Vintage samples. Very nice. 7 mils. Look how they used to do it back in the day. 7 mil. The good old days. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, they fell out. I was going to say, there's nothing in there. Here they are. Here's Halston Z. Very, very cool. I love how they used to do this stuff back in the day. I'll put you over here, my friends. Thank you to whoever bought this and shipped it directly to me. Someone bought it and shipped it directly to me. So thank you very much. Let me put you back in your little box. That's how it's supposed to go. Let me look up Halston Z. I am curious. I don't know anything about this, but I really do love the brand of Halston. And Halston Z14, that is a fragrance that will be getting a Vintage Hall of Fame review one day on the channel. You're not going to stand up, are you? Okay, you can just lay down. Fine. Lay down. Okay. Let's look up good old Halston Z. Halston Z. Halston Z14. That's not what I was looking for. Where is Halston Z? Here it is. 1998. A citrusy, spicy fragrance for men. Gardenia, basil, bergamot, cypress, and lemon with cedar, cinnamon, coriander, jasmine, patchouli, vetiver, and geranium. Oak moss, amber, benzoin, leather, musk, and tonka bean. No clue who the perfumer is. I didn't even know this scent existed, to be honest with you. So that is awesome. And this one is from Tim. Hope you're okay with me shouting you out, Tim. I guess there could be a million Tims, so... but thank you, my friend. Let's see what's in this bad boy. Oh, damn it. There we go. My trusty, handy, dandy unboxing knife. Ah. Very cool. Oh, shit! Oh, I just remembered what this was. Oh my god, I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about this shit. Okay, so the reason I busted out laughing right there is this is an Amaffi fragrance. I don't know if you guys know the brand of Amaffi, but this is actually a $4,300 fragrance. You heard that correctly. You did not hear me stutter. Oh my god, I can smell it through here. It smells like amber woods coming off the top. That's not 100% true. Doesn't smell just like amber woods, but this is a $4,300 fragrance. And he said, Ramsey, nobody talks about Amaffi. There's no reviews. I had to blind buy this damn thing. And look, I don't know if that's in transit, but the damn thing is leaking. That's why I can smell it so strong. But he said, I would love to hear your thoughts because there's no reviews on the brand. And to be honest with you, for $4,300, this should be absolutely perfect. And I don't, maybe he dropped it. I don't know, but it doesn't actually, I mean, it barely clicks. And I don't know, man, that just, for $4,300, this should be like, I mean, dude, this should be 50 mils. Okay. So I think from my understanding, when you pay $4,300 though, I think from my understanding that they send you a 100 ml bottle with all of the bling, like in a giant box, like the Roja boxes. Here, I'll show you what I think I'm talking about. Hang on, do not go anywhere. So this is what I think. Okay, this is what I think it's kind of supposed to come like, right? Something like this, where a giant box opens up. And I think they give you a 50 mil, what they call travel, with it. So I think this is the 50 mil. I'm just figuring out the, how they look. it's a $4,300 freaking fragrance. And Amaffi does not do samples, which should be like a huge red flag. How are you going to have this kind of a fragrance and not do samples? So there's no real videos on them. So he said, I want you to do your honest review. So this is going to be fucking amazing. Maybe I'll wear that to work tomorrow just so I can get to know it. Okay, so let me actually mark that down, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's called Intrigant. Intrigant by Amaffi. Yeah, see, the actual bottle, this is the 50 ml travel thing. The actual bottle looks like it's like in crystal and it sits in a big old box. If you look it up on Parfumo, you'll see it. But it's Elemi Resin, Oud and Vetiver by Nathalie Feisthauer. $4,300 fucking dollars. So anyways, that's going to be a fun review. That will be a fun review. And then there's this, which I have no clue what this is, but I see a spot down here on the bottom, and that worries me. I hope whatever you are, you have not leaked. So let us see. It's like Christmas morning on Channel Ram every day. What are you? What are you? What are you? Well, first of all, hells to the yeah. 2006 tour. Good stuff. Okay. No clue what that is. Let's see what you are. I believe this is from Frank, but I'm not 100% sure. But Halston Limited. Oh, I love this stuff, man. So this, oh no, this is what leaked. Oh no. How much of you is left? You had yourself a happy little accident, did you not? Okay, well there's still a bunch of it left. So it leaked a little bit, but that's okay. Look how much juice is left. It's like a weird, yeah, so the cap's not, okay. So anyways, but Halston Limited, for those of you who are interested, 3.9 ounce. How badass is that? Thank you, Frank. That is fucking awesome. And so, God, it smells amazing. This smells way better than the fucking $4,300 Amaffi, I'll tell you that. Fuck me. But I've got a review of this on the channel. This little known Halston. I have a review on the channel. So, that is awesome. And then, let's see what this bad boy is. Ah, Fahrenheit deodorant. How awesome is that? Now, see, this makes me want to wear Fahrenheit tomorrow. Wow, this actually smells like Fahrenheit. I can smell it. Awesome. This is a vintage Fahrenheit deodorant. Look, a short ingredient list. Okay, we've screwed about enough, but we had some fun so far in the first 14 minutes. So for those of you who were only here for the Ciel de Gum review, all apologies, but maybe I'll try to rush through it so this isn't a 5-hour video. But so let's talk a little bit about Ciel de Gum. So first of all, well, I guess before we get started, I should say thank you to everyone who sent me stuff. Very, very generous and kind of you, especially for the hard times that I'm going through with the divorce. Learning that I get to keep gifts was one of the greatest discoveries going through all of this, because there are more gifts in here than I originally thought. Once I actually went back through and went through the whole collection and made notes of what I bought and what were gifts, there were a ton of gifts. So you guys have been very, very generous, and it's funny because these people who bow down to brands and bullshit their way through their reviews just so they can continue to stay on the gravy train of free bottles, you don't have to do that. Just speak your mind, tell the truth, and the general public appreciates. There's so few people, I think, doing that nowadays. I'm not saying I'm the only one. I'm just saying there's so few people out there doing it that stuff like this shows up. I didn't ask for any of this, but I appreciate the generosity and the kindness from everybody. So, all right, let's talk about Ciel de Gum. So, for me, again, I have to just talk a little bit about Francis Kurkdjian and MFK as a house because as a perfumer, Francis Kurkdjian is widely seen as one of the more successful designer fragrance perfumers. Obviously, he made Le Male, which I absolutely fucking despise. Le Male, it is one of my most hated fragrances of all time. I have a bottle, but if you said, Ramsey, sell one bottle from your collection, Le Male would probably be the first to go. I despise that stuff so much. But I need to review it still on the channel. But I almost have to like steel myself. I have to like steel my heart, get ready for having to smell Le Male all day. It's just, that lavender vanilla thing is brutal to me. So he made Le Male. It made him a huge hit when he was very young. He started his own brand, Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and he started it. I'm not sure when he started it. When did he start his own brand? He started it in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. But he's a Armenian perfumer, and he was born in Paris in 1969. And he's done some stuff for other houses that I like. I really feel like some of some of Francis Kurkdjian's best work has come for other brands. So there was a flanker of Le Male called Fleur du Mal, which I actually really like. I'll do a review of that. That's one of his better releases. And then he also did a fragrance for Dior, which I have reviewed on the channel. And it is the green juice. Oh man, what's the green juice? I always, there's just too many fragrances. And it's called Eau Noir. So he did Eau Noir for Dior, which I think Eau Noir may be his best work, to be honest with you. And I would love to find a vintage Eau Noir cologne. It's long been on my wish list, or at least an older bottle with the green juice. But Eau Noir, to me, is full bottle worthy. I have a review on the channel, thanks to Rich Mitch sending me some very kind decants. So if you want to check out my feelings on Eau Noir, it's under the Dior playlist. You'll be able to find it. But for his brand, there's a couple, okay, that I really think are some of his best work. And what ended up happening is he ended up selling his house to LVMH because, of course, LVMH they're like the octopus with the tentacles that own everything, and so LVMH purchased MFK. And when they did, they axed the work that was not selling as quickly, which ended up being the work that is most popular in the fragrance community. So, for example, Absolue pour le Soir is one of his axed, discontinued works, which I think is one of his better works for the brand, one of the more interesting ones. And there's this, Ciel de Gum. These are the two discontinued MFK creations, which many frag heads like myself rate very highly. Now, so for me, this is one of his best works, easily. I would put this up there with Absolue pour le Soir, but I would probably put it a little bit under Eau Noir personally. But this is probably one of my favorite designer/niche ambers, okay? I'm not including the artisanal houses because they're really in a world of their own. But as far as just an amber fragrance done well, this hits the spot for me, and it did instantly. I actually have a decant, so I did not blind buy this because these are very hard to find. By the way, just in case, since we're giving shout outs to people who have made these type of videos possible, thank you, Hari. This is obviously ingrained. I'll never forget who gave me this bottle. So, Ciel de Gum, basically, to me, it is one of the best uses of amber and florals. So many people would think, okay, amber and florals, it's going to be feminine. It's not. It's actually, I think it smells amazing on a man. When I wear this, I think it smells unique, and I just think it's a fantastic amber for this genre and this style of fragrance. Okay, so it came out in 2013. I guess it's classified as like a floral spicy amber, if you will, and it mixes amber with jasmine. Now, that combination of amber and jasmine, and there's other florals in here that are not listed. I think there has to be, just from wearing it and smelling it and having this bottle I must have got this from Hari within the last year or two, but I didn't put this entire dent in here, but I've given this a good amount of wears over the time. Plus, I had a 12 mil decant that I probably wore about half of as well. So I've probably worn around 10 mils of this fragrance so far, so I do know it pretty well. And so the amber and the jasmine accord, I will say, if you're comparing it with these super high-end amber fragrances, if you're comparing it with the artisanal houses, I think it falls short. If you compare the florals in here, so for example, that jasmine note, it's not going to compete with the natural florals. I've been talking about this fragrance from the house of Ciel Oud called Oud de Grande, one of the best natural floral jasmine fragrances. I have a review on the channel. I absolutely have fallen in love with Oud de Grande. I think if you compare some of MFK's work, or Francis Kurkdjian's work in general with some stuff like this, you'll be a little bit let down, okay? But yeah, I mean, the jasmine in here is literally on another level. And I don't think you can expect huge doses of real jasmine in a fragrance that LVMH owns. There may be some real jasmine in here. I wouldn't be surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Francis Kurkdjian created that jasmine accord, if you will. And he kind of created it based on his methods of his knowledge of perfumery, right? That's why a lot of these brands pay perfumers. They don't pay them to just mix jasmine and, you know, expensive oud and stuff like that, right? They pay them for their knowledge of chemistry and how to create this sort of jasmine accord. And I think that's where good old Captain Kirk, Francis Kurkdjian, has excelled beautifully. I think he created something that's extremely beautiful here with what seems like very simple ingredients. The note listing is only 4 notes on Parfumo. Amber, pink pepper, vanilla, and jasmine. That's it, those 4, okay? And so it opens up exactly how you would expect an MFK creation to open up. I actually have some on my hand here that I sprayed maybe half an hour ago, right before the video started, so around half an hour ago. And when it first opens, it opens up with this synthetic plastic bit about it. I heard someone call his fragrances the synthetic plasticky smell, which if you watch my first impression of Absolue pour le Soir, you'll notice that I mention it. And Francis Kurkdjian historically has not shied away from putting that in your face, this sort of in your face, plastic, synthetic feeling. It's almost like, this is what I want to create and you will like it. Some perfumers try to hide that synthetic plasticky side. He almost relishes in it. And that's one of the reasons I think some people give him a hard time in the fragrance community, because it's like, dude, you're creating a fragrance that is, let's say, supposed to smell like these ingredients, but it has this overriding chemical plastic smell. And I heard someone once make the perfect description. They said, it smells like, imagine if you're smelling like a hair from a doll right out of the box, you know? Or like if you've ever burned doll hair, this plastic-like feel. And I just imagine like Chucky, you know, from the Child's Play movies, just coming at you, just smelling like Ciel de Gum holding a knife. But it definitely is this, if you know Francis Kurkdjian's work, especially for the House of MFK, I almost feel like he amped up that plasticiness, right? Like whenever he released his own house, he was like, okay, I'm going to do it the way I want, and this is the way that I want to do it. And you know what's crazy is people love it. People go crazy for Francis Kurkdjian's fragrances. It's almost like this is the new Creed. You know, this is the nouveau rich brand now. This is what all the proper rich upper crust of society want to be wearing. They want to be wearing Maison Francis Kurkdjian now. It's crazy how that worked out. But for frag heads, when you're breaking a fragrance down, that synthetic accord, if you know Francis Kurkdjian's work, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That synthetic plastic accord is there in Ciel de Gum, but it's not as extreme as it is in Absolue pour le Soir. Absolue pour le Soir, it's the most intense I've ever seen. I mean, he just amped it up to the max. And in Ciel de Gum, it's Ciel de Gum, excuse me, it is there. And that's one of the first things that you're going to pick up. And Kafkask, who is probably one of the best fragrance bloggers in history, in my opinion, she says, who, by the way, I have to mention, Kafkask is one of the best fragrance bloggers in history who have not put her work behind a paywall, Persolaise. And I actually really like Papa Persolaise, but putting all your work that you've worked all of these years behind a paywall, that's something Luca Turin done. It's something that Persolaise did. And I always felt like, you know, FragCom is supposed to be like a sharing of ideas. That's why we all congregate. This is like the forum back in the day. You know, back in the day in the Revolutionary wartime America, they would meet in these pubs and get together and have meetings. This is like our meeting area. So for you to just take all your work and stick it behind a paywall is basically like you saying F you to the fragrance community. You know, that's really what it feels like. It's like, oh, you want my work? Fuck you, pay me. And it's like, but part of the reason I'm doing this because I want to share my ideas and love of perfumery. So I appreciate the fact that Kafkask has not stuck her work behind a paywall like has become so prominent nowadays. So, but the reason I bring her up, and I really respect her nose, but she has a perfect quote for this. And she says, Ciel de Gum is a swirling vortex of gold and red. Gold and red. And actually, if you look at the bottle, you see the gold and the red tones right there. And you can see the reddish colored juice as well. Almost like that wine. It almost looks like wine, the juice. And the red writing with the gold overtones. And really, to my nose, though, it's not gold and red. It's red and gold. Because really what I get is the red first. So you get this very archetypal pink pepper accord, which basically smells like you're smelling this very spicy, rosy take on pink pepper, which is, of course, what pink pepper smells like. But it is like you're smelling all of it at once. So you get the pink pepper, you get the rose, which is not listed on Parfumo, by the way, but I would be shocked if there was not a rose note. There is a rose note listed on some other websites, which I usually don't mention, but you know, the rose note is not listed, but I definitely get some of that pink pepper. I would be shocked. What I'm trying to say, let's see if I can find some words here, Ramsey, is I would be shocked if the pink pepper alone was creating this much sort of rosy floralness in the opening. There's my guess is there's some sort of rose materials that Francis Kurkdjian used in the opening to sort of solidify that pink pepper, that rosy pink pepper accord. And the pink pepper smells very spicy. It almost smells to the point of smelling Sichuan pepper, you know, that fiery red pepper. Although Sichuan pepper, I've talked about in some fragrances like Journeyman and stuff like that, goes in a little different direction, but the pink pepper spiciness begins to approach that. And along with that comes the star of the show. The star of the show to me is the amber. Some people say the star of the show is the jasmine or the vanilla. To me, it's the amber. I think the vanilla makes up that amber accord. This gorgeous, absolutely drop-dead gorgeous amber accord comes forward, and it really is amazing. And it's funny because some folk compare it to his work with Jean-Paul Gaultier called Gaultier Squared, which this was discontinued in this version. They then brought it back in a new modern version, which I've never smelled. But Gaultier Squared, to me, smells like a vanilla cupcake with vanilla icing on top. So for the folks who are comparing it to Gaultier Squared, I just think they're stoned. I don't think there is a similarity. Obviously there's a similarity because they both are a similar type of fragrance, but they smell completely different to me. You know, Ciel de Gum is nothing. The easiest way to describe it, so what I would, if I were to just give a quick overview, is Gaultier Squared is focused on the vanilla note. It's really focused on that vanilla, but it ends up smelling like, honestly, like vanilla cupcake. Whereas Ciel de Gum doesn't focus on the vanilla, it focuses on the amber. And vanilla is just part of that amber accord, but the amber is really the star of the show in Ciel de Gum. That's the easiest way to kind of compare the two. Gaultier Squared is vanilla heavy, Ciel de Gum is amber heavy, if that makes sense. And I would also mention that cinnamon is part of the reason why you get that fiery-like feel that I was talking about with the pink pepper, almost going to the Sichuan pepper. That's the cinnamon playing a role. And I just imagine, you know, cinnamon being ground up, and you know when ground cinnamon like sits on a plate in the kitchen and it's really finely ground, right? And it's sitting there, and sometimes if you just walk by fast enough, flecks of cinnamon will just come up, fly off if you blow on it. If you pick it up and move it too fast, like little bits of cinnamon will come up in the air, and they kind of get blown around, and they just make the air smell a certain way. They blend little particles of cinnamon. Even if it's like one particle out of a million, you can smell it. It's a kind of a it's a note that blends well, but also has a very specific smell. And the other thing that is very interesting about cinnamon, and in here you get it in a very strange way, is that sometimes it can feel almost metallic, okay? But in this fragrance, think about, so since it's gold and red, remember the swirling vortex of gold and red, thank you Kafkaesque. So think about this metallic description, not in the same way you're thinking of metallic though. As soon as someone says metallic, what do you think of? You think of like the, silver, like Terminator getting shot, and the metallic, the silver metallic kind of closing up over the wound. Or you think of that, you think of like a light pole or something like that that's silver. It's not metallic in that way at all. In fact, instead of thinking about it that way, try to think of it in the same way that gold is technically a metal, but when you see it and look at gold, at least for me, like if I look at gold, it kind of gives like a different, my brain thinks about it differently. I feel differently about it inside. That's the way that the metallic feel of the cinnamon feels in Ciel de Gum. It has this golden flecks, like the flecks of cinnamon, flecks of gold. And it's actually a great descriptor for Ciel de Gum just as a whole. Francis Kurkdjian takes these ingredients that seem very simple, and amber, pink pepper, vanilla, jasmine, and he turns them into something that is so traditionally MFK, Maison Francis Kurkdjian, while also being unique and different. I honestly don't know if I've ever smelled another amber fragrance that to me smells like Ciel de Gum. I just don't. I don't think I've come across one that smells like this. And I've smelled a lot of fragrances in my time. To me, this is unique. And somehow, even though it has this very strange sort of plastic note, right, that Francis Kurkdjian has perfected, he obviously has perfected that plastic note, it also has this very warm, amber, cozy, comforting feeling. And he absolutely nailed that amber note to me. And so amber, for those of you that don't know, when they say amber, many people picture literally the amber resin. And so remember, one of the best sort of descriptors that I've seen for amber is, remember Jurassic Park, when they show the amber with the mosquito trapped inside, and they get the blood out of the mosquito because it was sort of preserved in this amber resin for millions of years. If you watch some of my videos on Arise La Dorée, I forget which one it was, but one of them had like 40 million year old amber in there. I think DS and Durga literally has a fragrance called 40 million year old amber. And so some folks think that if you take that amber resin and you actually put a blowtorch to it and melt it, that what will be released when the vapors come out of that amber the resin that's hardened and sat for millions of years will be this amber-like smell that we smell in fragrances like Ciel de Gum, or fragrances that have this amber accord, right? Others say no, that the actual amber itself is just kind of a mental description, that if you actually burn the amber resin, it's not going to have the smell that we associate with an amber accord today, that the amber accord is actually built by modern perfumers using things like labdanum, vanilla, balsams, whether it be Peru balsam or Tolu balsam or whatever it is, right? But this sort of accord that's being built by a perfumer. They're not literally taking amber and sticking it into the fragrance, right? So here's the scent breakdown so far. So this dusty, rosy, spicy smelling pink pepper that blends, like for example, do you know the last move on the Rubik's Cube, when all the colors finally click, right? That's what Ciel de Gum feels like when all the notes finally click into place. So the amber is kind of what clicks everything into place. It's the last kind of turn of the Rubik's Cube, if you will. And along with that, once everything clicks into place, you get this jasmine, rose, floral, but even though they're recreations, they don't smell like the actual amber, or the actual jasmine, like I was showing in Oud de Grande. And who knows, maybe there is some actual jasmine in here, because this is a very expensive perfume. I think it retailed for a couple $100s or something when it first came out for 70 mil. Francis Kurkdjian only gives you 70 mil in his bottles, which seems a little strange, but whatever. And so you get that very well, I would say, recreated rosy jasmine. Maybe there is some real rose, maybe there is some real jasmine, but the synthetic feeling feels like he recreated it with other ingredients. And then the trick is, well, not the trick, but something that has to be mentioned. And if you know Francis Kurkdjian's work, you will not be surprised by this at all. But I think this sits on a base of white musks. And Francis Kurkdjian absolutely loves using white musks. He is a fiend for white musks. And the thing about it is a lot of his other fragrances that use white musks that I've smell very boring and basic and bland. And he uses them. I don't know why he loves them so much, but for whatever reason he does. These fluffy white musk things. But here, for whatever reason, even though I can smell the white musks, they don't come across as boring and bland and basic. They just don't. They feel like part of the Rubik's Cube that all clicks together. And so, you know, for me, that's basically the fragrance. That is how the fragrance breaks down. It's not a super complex fragrance, but you know what? Francis Kurkdjian, to me, very rarely makes fragrances that are super complex. Eau Noir from Dior, I think, is maybe one of his most complex fragrances. A lot of times what I smell is pretty simple and basic. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure he has some other complex fragrances. Absolue Pour le Soir is probably somewhat complex as well, which we'll talk about on the channel. I like his ouds. So this is the only other, these are the 3 MFKs that I own. I own Absolue Pour le Soir. I own his original oud, the Eau de Parfum, which I'll review on the channel. This stuff is so tenacious on me. I mean, this stuff is an absolute beast. Some people have said that's not true on them, but man, the original Eau de Parfum of his oud has some, I don't know what it is, but there's something in here that I can smell forever. And if it touches my clothes, God forbid, I'll smell it for months. And Ciel de Gum. Those are the only MFKs that I own in the whole collection. You can see I'm not a huge Francis Kurkdjian fan. I do like some of his work, but I kind of just pick and choose the ones that I like. And I have a decant coming of Oud Satin Mood, which I've never smelled before. I've never smelled any of the other moods, Oud Velvet Mood. I've never smelled any of those. So, you know, it is, I'm not the biggest fan, but I think that this is, like I said, backup bottle worthy. It's good enough that it is literally backup bottle worthy. I think he nailed this one. So even though it's simplistic, even though it's done in the Francis Kurkdjian style with the plasticky accord, think of Chucky coming at you with the knife, there's something so comforting and cozy and warming, as I said earlier. And in fact, the backup bottle is coming from a friend as a gift from Natalia from Poland, excuse me. It's been so long since I've heard from you, Natalia. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. But she actually sent it to Rich Mitch. Rich Mitch got the package, and he opened it up, and he was like, "Hey, mate, I've never smelled Ciel de Gum. Can I spray your bottle?" And I said, "Yes, please do. But you're going to hate it because it has a huge white floral note of jasmine in there." And he said, "Okay, sure." So he tried. He's like, "You know what? I actually don't hate this. I actually really like this." So I can't wait. He said he'd do like an early impression video on it. So we'll all be waiting for Rich Mitch's early impression to see if me and him agree on this. But there is definitely something here that Francis Kurkdjian hit on, something special. And I can't see why they discontinued this. Okay, so Absolue Pour le Soir, I absolutely see why they discontinued. It's got that weird pissy amber. It's like a weird pissy honey amber, and the plasticiness there is like turned up to an 11. And I'll do a full review on that. I have a early impression video when I unbox this on the channel a year and a half ago, whatever it was. You can go check that out. But that's just a very early impression. I was not impressed. That Absolute Pour le Soir had to grow on me because I had to get used to that plastic accord. Here, I think it's much more seamless. It's easier for people to accept what's going on in Ciel de Gum. And I really feel like they had a big hit on their hands. I feel like they gave up on it too quickly. I know it was supposed to be like an exclusive and all that stuff, but Baccarat Rouge 540 was supposed to be an exclusive as well. A lot of people don't know that. That was supposed to be kind of an exclusive to celebrate Baccarat's, 200 or something anniversary, some ridiculous number, 300-year anniversary. And it was such a hit that they took it and ran with it. And I see no reason why Ciel de Gum could not have kind of been the same thing, but they just sidelined it, discontinued it, and now bottles of this go for stupid money. I mean, if anyone's willing to pay that stupid money. People who own bottles think they're going to get stupid money out of it. I never, even when I try to collect these, you know, rare, hard to find fragrances, the trick that I can tell you is just be patient. Don't ever reward people asking for $1,000 for their bottles. You know, if they think that they're going to get it or whatever, fine. You can put it up on eBay for any price you want. Put it up for 10,000. You know, doesn't mean someone's going to buy it for that. And so, but yes, it's interesting to me that even Rich Mitch, who hated white florals, and there's a big jasmine note in here, liked Ciel de Gum. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. This can be a very polarizing fragrance. There are some people that are like, I just don't get the hype. Oh, you guys are just hyping it up because it's discontinued and hard to find. I've heard that one before. You know, you don't actually like the fragrance. You're just lying about it. And I'm like, dude, why would I lie about it? It's discontinued. There's no reason. It's not like the brand's gonna all of a sudden be like, "Great job, Ramsey. Here's some free stuff." They'll probably be, you know, there's no point now. The people who you have to keep an eye on who are hyping shit up are the ones who get like free bottles of Jubilation 40 or whatever, a free $500 bottle. They want to keep the gravy train going. That's still in business. That's still being produced. Discontinued stuff. I like doing this because I like doing these reviews because there's very few people who are still talking about discontinued fragrances. A lot of times once they get discontinued, they get pushed aside or people are like, oh, I don't like talking about discontinued fragrances. Bullshit. I really love talking about them because that's like a thing. I like collecting hard to find and discontinued fragrances. And I know there's kind of a niche inside of the fragrance world that enjoys that as well. So yes, unfortunately, this will be a discontinued gem fragrance review, but I would love to hear your thoughts on Ciel de Gum and the house of MFK just in general. As always, I appreciate everyone who watches and comments, and thank you to everyone who sent me all this amazing stuff today. I can't wait to wear that $4,300 Amaffi. But anyways, thank you everybody. Cheers, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.